I've never been one of those bleeding hearts who walked from train car to train car handing out sandwiches to the homeless, those self-gratifying, holier-than-thou posers. What were they going to do with 2 slices of white bread and a single sweating square of rubbery cheese? Waste, mostly. Or maybe barter for a cigarette if they were lucky. No, I was a case manager for the Department of Social Services. I dealt in logistics and bed allotments. I prided myself on my ability to look at a screaming man smeared in his own filth and feel nothing, smell nothing, want nothing except to process his file. I was efficient, and that was the quality you needed in this line of work. Empathy was a dime a dozen, and it burned out fast. There are over 200,000 homeless people in New York at any given moment. They outnumbered us, the social workers, 5 to 1. Efficiency was the grease that kept the gears turning. That's why I got promoted to senior case manager only 1 year into the job. A few years after my promotion, though, I found myself sleeping in a box behind a bodega in Astoria, shivering so hard my teeth rattled. The wind coming off the East River in winter grows teeth of its own. Even through layers of donated coats, I felt it gnawing my bones. I stank like a wet dog and looked worse. I knew this. People walked by and averted their eyes, or tried so hard not to see me that it was almost funny, if you could find any humor in being invisible. This is all because of Clara. I first met Clara in the Union Square police station. She was a semi-permanent fixture there and on the platform below. Layers of mismatched wool coats in every season, legs swaddled in plastic bags, a battered shopping cart trailing behind her like a lost child. She'd been picked up for aggressive panhandling, disturbing the peace. Clara had been screaming at tourists for years, but that day, one of those tourists was a cop, and so she became my problem. "We're going to get you into a shelter, Clara," I said, clicking my pen, the tip tapping a nervous rhythm against her file. "We have a bed tonight in the Bronx." "No," she shouted, slamming a dirt-caked hand on the table. The sound was sharp, but the smell was worse. Something sour, something rotten, something like fear. "It's too far," she howled, crumbs and spittle spraying the cheap wood veneer. "I have to stay close to my boys. You can't make me leave." Her file said she'd had 2 dependents at some point. Boys, ages unknown, whereabouts unknown. Not in the tunnels of Union Square, that much was certain. "I can make you leave, Clara. It's my job." Not really. My job was to find her a place to stay, but most of the time it was just about keeping people like her out of sight, out of mind. "The mole people," she whispered, leaning in so close I could see the cracks in her lips, the wild light in her eyes. "They want my boys, they'll gobble my boys right up. Goddamn, not this again." You'd be surprised, but Clara's situation is actually pretty cliché. It's hard to end up homeless in New York. There's a constant game of musical chairs with city-funded shelters. Unless you're truly, clinically insane, you have a shot at climbing out. The ones left at the bottom, the unpopped kernels in the popcorn, are the ones like Clara. I'm no psychologist, but I know paranoid schizophrenia when I see it. Her story wasn't even original. Lost her kids, lost her mind, now haunted by things in the dark. Urban legend mixed with trauma simmered in mental illness. Could happen to anyone, I suppose. But Clara was persistent. Over the next week, she escaped 2 shelters. Each time, NYPD found her trying to pry open maintenance doors in the subway. Tired of her nonsense, I decided to do a field assessment at Union Square. I told myself if I lost Clara in her chosen haunt, she'd stop wasting my time. It's what she wanted, and if it happened to make my life easier, well, that was just a bonus. It was nearly 10 p.m. on a Tuesday when I took Clara down to the platform. The place was emptier than I'd ever seen, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant rattle of a departing train. I steered her toward the end of the track, far from the commuters, far from help. Just releasing a wild animal back into the wild, I thought to myself, this is what she wanted. She looked at me, her eyes unexpectedly lucid, her voice trembling. They are hungry tonight. I can't leave them to that. Something in her voice, a mother's terror maybe, made my chest ache. Her boys were gone, but she clung to them, to the idea of them. Once she'd been a mother, still was, in her own way. She hopped off the platform and shuffled into the darkness. To this day, I can't tell you why I followed. Empathy is a muscle, they say. I hadn't used mine in years, but that night, something in me twitched. "Clara, get back here!" I hissed, leaping down after her. My phone's flashlight barely pierced the gloom, illuminating swirling dust and the glint of broken glass. The air was heavy, cooler, laced with the metallic tang of subway rails and something else, decay. "Just a little further," she called, her voice echoing weirdly. A breeze rushed through the tunnel, and the blackness seemed to press in. I'd stared into this darkness 1,000 times, but now it stared back. Then I saw the bedding, piles of rags, cans, rat droppings. My light caught something moving. Was it a rat or something larger? "You've got to be kidding me," I thought. "You've got to be kidding me," said a voice. Not Clara's, not mine, something else. I flinched, heart hammering, and Clara's hand gripped my arm. "You see," she whispered, "they've had nothing to eat since the coppers took me." "Squatters," I managed, voice shaking. "Dangerous ones, we need to leave." "We need to leave," the tunnel echoed, but it was my voice, twisted and distant. Clara cackled and scurried ahead. I chased, breath ragged, the air thick with rot and fear. The walls seemed to pulse, as if breathing with me. My phone flickered, light strobing, revealing shapes hunched in the dark. Clara stopped, turned, and her face split in a too-wide grin, jaw unhinging with a wet, snapping sound. I stumbled back and dropped my phone. The light spun, catching glimpses of figures crawling along the walls and ceiling, pale, long-limbed, hungry. I ran, feet splashing through stagnant water, heart in my throat. The tunnel mocked me with my own thoughts, echoing them back until I couldn't tell which were mine. Ahead, a sickly orange glow, a maintenance hatch. I clawed my way up the stairs, the slap of wet flesh behind me. Clara crawled after me, her body twisted, her grip cold and strong. I kicked, felt flesh tear, and finally, with one last desperate lunge, broke through the rusted gate. I tumbled onto the street, into the harsh, indifferent light of the city. People stared, recoiled. Someone muttered about bath salts. No one helped. That was 2 years ago. I never went back to my apartment. I don't know why. Maybe I was afraid of the dark. Maybe I was afraid of what I'd become. Now I stay in Queens, where the subway runs above ground. I never cross the river. The whisper is always there, just below the surface, promising hunger, promising darkness. So next time you're alone on the platform, staring into the tunnel, wondering when the train will come, stay back from the edge. And whatever you do, don't listen when the darkness whispers your name.